Here is one of our if statements, and this if statement right here, it shows that if they have guessed the word wrong or in the letters 6 different times, then it will show that the game is over, and right here it will add 1 loss to the win-loss. Then later on in the if statement, if they have guessed the word correctly, selecting all of the letters within those 6 guesses, then it will show that the game will be over, and it will add 1 win to the win-loss. Paused it.
Oh, Alt P. Hello there. I'm going to be talking about the if-else statement. I've got a good example of one right here in compare. So it's a public static Boolean compare. The thing will be returning either true or false, and it's bringing in a Boolean A1 and A2. And right here is our if-else statement. So this right here, this if is acting like kind of like a switch, looking with 2 options, either case 1 true or case 2 false. And it looks at whatever the result of what is in these brackets is, and if it is a true, then it will do whatever next after it, or you can, if you're OCD like me, you can put in brackets, or if you want to do more than 1 line of code, you can do brackets. And and so if it's true, it does what's right next, and if it's false, it looks for an else. And the else will run whatever's right after it. In this case, return false, which I'm not actually sure if... Yeah, it would do that. I just realized that that this thing needs a return it anyway, and yeah, okay, this code should be fine. I did Control P2. Excuse me. Next we have the if-else if. Over here in our get input thing, I modified one of our validation methods to use it. Let's see what we got. I'm getting really close to the camera there, I just realized. I should probably back up and give you some personal space there, so I'm not taking up your whole miniature screen of a box, which is probably over here. Let's see. Validate number, I'll be walking you through that. Validate number is run by number, and returns either true or false to let them know, to let this function know whether or not that is a valid thing. Let's see. It is handed the number that is guessed and the maximum number. It checks. It starts and initializes Boolean valid as false. Then uses this switch case here to go through and ask and see if it's anything from 0 to 9 to 0. If it is, makes it true, moves on. But that's not what we're interested in. What we're interested in is what happens next. I put in some control here so that the menu this is run from menus. If the menu has a maximum number, all menus have a maximum number of options, it's handed to it there. So now this checks it against the maximum. So if the number that was guessed is over the maximum, make it no longer valid, and let them know that that's not a valid number, because they should know, dang it. And rerun this to get it again from them. Recursion, not the best, but oh well. I might fix it later if I have time. Alright. And then, after it's done evaluating if that's valid, I don't know, if it's true, it does this and kicks out. If this is not true, then it'll, okay, so if this is above, if the number they guessed, I can't talk today, if the number they guessed is above the max, then it'll kick them out, and then it'll check. But if it's not above, then it'll skip down to this else and say if it is less than 0, because I did not put any menu options with the number less than 0 in. If it's less than 0, then also make it invalid, and we'll let them know so, and ask them again. And that's an if-else-if ladder. It just kind of keeps going down. You can put as many as you want. And the beauty of this over a case statement is that you can have, this doesn't have to be the same thing as the variable there. This can be, if chicken is less than 0, then do something else. I don't want to be chicken, or I don't want to use chicken there because we don't have a chicken, and it wouldn't be useful.
Here's our switch, and in the switch it runs the option switch function, and within there it goes to each of these cases, case 1, case 2, case 3, and then case 4, and it goes to these cases and selects the correct case, which it is working with, and then it executes whatever is in that case. From there, if it does not find a correct case, then it goes to the bottom, and we have it set that it will default, and it'll print out this line that is written right here in the code, displaying that to the user while they're within that function.
Next, we shall be discussing the for loop. Now, we're using this for loop right here to run the entire game and make it repeat. And by entire game, I mean the game within a game, because our program supports playing multiple games of Hangman in one session. So this for loop will run each game and then return a win-loss. There it is. All right. So this for loop goes from here. Nope, this one. From right here all the way down to, I can't see yellowness, all the way down to here. And it is controlled by the int game over. As long as game over is 0, it will keep going. Game over starts as 0, and it will be done once game over is greater or equal to 1, just in case something horrible happens. Don't know how, it shouldn't happen, but in case it does. So this for loop here is basically running our entire game and turn system. At the end of it, no, not there, here. Take me to the end of it. There it is. There we go. At the end of each time that is run is the only time that it will be modifying the game over. It's checking with these if statements to see if you've lost or if you've won. If you have lost or won, it will make the game over, and it will return whether or not you have lost or won.
Here in this while loop that we're using, it's for user input, and the way that we have it set up is basically sanitizing what their input is to make sure that it is a correct input. So right here, if they input something that is not correct, whether that's a number, multiple letters, symbols, then it will continue to ask them for the input displayed in these two lines of code. And then once they do select a correct input, then it comes down, it validates that yes, that is indeed a letter in the alphabet, and it returns that it is true, returning to the guessed character, and it no longer will repeat this where it was a true input.
Next, we're covering our do while loop. Get input a variable. Yes, it's that one. I took my notes there. After I cough, I shall explain that this is the start of the do while loop. It is a while loop controlled at the end. So you're starting with a do something, and here we're doing number in scan number in equals, we're setting a number to the next number that is typed in. And so the first thing it does is it does that, and then it checks, should I do it again? And I'm using that should I do it again to run the validation, or to check if it's correct for that number. And again, it'll do equal. If it's false, then it will continue to ask them for numbers. And as long as it is false, it will continue to ask them for numbers. Once it returns true, then true does not equals false, and it stops asking them for numbers because we have a valid number. They're no longer trying to enter in cat for their menu selection number. And then it returns number, and we're done. This one.
Okay, here is our array. The user will enter a difficulty level, and prior to that, then there would have already been a random number that is selected. Based upon the difficulty level that they chose, that random number then generates the word that will be used in the game. For example, if the random number was 3 and they chose a difficulty of easy, then it would count 3 in, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the word would be bird. It then goes down to the switch and selects the case in which it applies to. So it's like the case 1, which is the easy word list, and then it selects that word right there. Is the random.
No.
Okay, here's our array. In this, the user enters a difficulty level, and here within the difficulty is the list of the options of words that are within each of those difficulties. So their difficulty is selected, and it is inputted right here if they selected the easy difficulty, and then there's also a random number that will be inputted. Say that random number is 3, it will then refer to the word list and count 3 in, so 0, 1, 2, 3. The word would be bird that they're to guess, and then it returns that word in all uppercase, ready for the word to be guessed by the player of the game.
Next, we'll be covering how a loop can go through the different elements of an array. So we'll be doing that looking at that in check word. So here in check word, it is handed the word character array, the character it is to compare against, and then a found index. So I think we might have ended up not even using the found index. Might have to take that out later. Starts at 0. This for loop starts at 0, and as long as k is smaller than the length of this array, it will run it and keep adding it at the end of each run. So we start here for oh no, we are using found index, using it for keeping track of what letters are guessed. So found index equal to the at position k 0 equals character letter, or no, sorry, check letter, which is right here. And we're handing it the word char array and the character we're comparing it against, and we're actually handing it this k as well because we need to compare something in this place too, as well as the found index for that one. So down here in check letter, it has, oh good golly, let's see if I can wrap my head around this again. I just peeled it off. So it initializes found it as false, a boolean found it as false, and says if this, so it's comparing the letter here to the letter that's in that position of the array of the word, and or if it's true, or if it has already been guessed in the past, then make it true. So this is basically each time that this is run on the word, it is rewriting the index of has that letter been found or not, and it should be making it true if it's already true, or if you've guessed the letter. and it does that, and it keeps running